came from South America because they're wearing T-shirts that say, President Kamala Harris. Yeah, it's a bad week to be a Venezuelan gang member looking for a free sex change in prison. But it's a good week to be me. I bet so much money on this election that if I lost, I was going to have to join a pro-Hamas protest just for the free tent. Of course, not everybody was as accurate with their predictions. Take a look.
I think it's going to be a blowout, actually. I don't think it's going to be a close race.
It'll be tied on Election Day. As always, it will. The polls will be tied, and then he'll lose.
Harris is going to blow the doors off. And it's going to be because of women and the grand gap.
In my humble view, lights out.
I would say take Harris over 270 electoral votes. I think she's going to win.
This month, you wrote Trump is toast. Do you stand behind that today?
Oh, even more so. I feel the same way that I felt a few weeks ago that Trump is toast.
Now, if anybody knows about toast, it's Michael Moore. Although at this point, he's more known for his roles. Joining me now to fat shame the rest of the country, which I can do because I'm dressed like Magic Mike's chubbier older brother, Tragic Mike. He is a comedy superstar, a podcast powerhouse, and Canadian. So he had to move here to make room for all the celebrities who claim they're moving there. Danny Polishuk back on the show. The crowd gets
What's happening?
There we go.
Good to be back, Jimmy.
Everybody claims they're moving to Canada. Will Trudeau pull a Trump and build a wall?
I hope not. I hope he doesn't build the wall, but maybe he does. He's not that organized, though.
But you're trying to outsource our celebrities?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to send all the ones back to Canada.
You're giving them up.
No, I'd like to trade if possible. We'll do one. I have a lot of friends in Canada.
Yeah, what do I get out of this? What Canadian is in it for me? If I get Rick Moranis, what's even happening
Hey,
here?
I think he lives here.
No, that's
Getting
a win.
punched.
Okay. Well, the only way any of these celebrities actually leave the country is if Trump releases the Diddy list. I think we all know. Anyway, she is a spokesperson for Turning Point USA, and you can't miss her here in New York. She's the only white chick who's not dressed in a handmaid's costume this week. Caitlin Sinclair making her Fox News Saturday night debut. Hey, girl.
Right.
Have you sobered up from the Trump victory parties yet?
Oh, you mean keeping up with Kamala Harris?
That's funny. They're going to nominate you next.
We're good. We're good.
If America looks in this panel in a wide shot, okay, Rich, Caitlin, Danny, you two look like you kidnapped her on spring break. Don't leave the resort, girls. Don't ever leave the resort. And lastly, a Philadelphia radio superstar who never got invited to a White Dudes for Kamala rally because, alas, he's straight. Rich Zeoli back on the show. Hey, girl. Now, I know we're on Fox News right now,
Yes.
but be honest. Did you watch as much MSNBC as I did, too?
Oh, I enjoyed every second of it. In fact, I'm wearing black tonight out of empathy for their tears and their pain and their anguish, their funeral. I'm wearing black to relate to them. I loved it, every second of it.
I legit DVR'd Morning Joe, and I'm going to play it at Christmas for my family. It was wonderful.
I sent it to my mother-in-law. Just another reason for her never to talk to me again. So it'll be a great Thanksgiving. Let's get the turkey ready.
Well, the bad news for Democrats is Kamala lost. The good news is Tiananmen Tim Walz can finally say he witnessed a massacre.
Frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly.
Yep, President Trump won big, and it's the one landslide that liberals aren't blaming on climate change. No, ma'am. Nope, they're blaming black men, Latino men, and white women. Way to go, Caitlin.
I just say, Rev, really quickly, too. Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. Mm-hmm. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men, things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them.
Latino men who, despite the utter disrespect shown by Trump and his promise to deport some of your mixed status families, most of them voted in a 55% majority to make the deportations happen.
Black women tried to save this country again last night. 92% of black women voted for the vice president. You have Latinas in the 70 percentile voting for the vice president. What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump, uneducated white women.
Now, listen, I will give liberals some grace. because they were shocked by these numbers, okay? White women didn't take the bait on the fake abortion ban, as you know. He got the highest number of black support since Gerald Ford, going back to the 70s. And let's face it, okay, Latinos liked Kamala less than birth control. Danny, I think it's hilarious that liberals keep saying Latinos voted to deport their own families, as if every Latino is here illegally. Like, how racist is that?
Pretty racist, although they might have some, in-laws that they don't love, or maybe not, and they go, maybe they'll send the
It'd be a real
home.
shame if President Trump came to 222 Main Street and got my Aunt Florence. Is that what you're saying? It's a setup?
Potentially.
But every time
But
they...
yeah.
But every time they talk about them like they're all illegal. They're like, well, congratulations, you're all getting kicked out.
Yeah.
I'm like, if they're voting, they're citizens. But ha-ha, not if they're Democrat.
Did you see that on the map that the main cities that voted Democrat all had no voter ID laws?
Yeah. A little shady. We'll get
Shocking
there.
how that works.
Now, people are accusing the Democrats of condescending towards black men. But would you tell me that the party that said black men can't get an ID would talk down to people? Is that real?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shock, right, that they would think that black men who go to barbershops and talk to other black men and say, hey, you want to pay for some prisoner to get his schwanz chopped off and then turn into a white? Yeah, sign me up, my tax dollars, as he's cutting his hair. Like, that's a great idea, right? Great idea.
Yep.
I mean, watching football games, and that ad came on about transgender prisoner surgery. I'm thinking to myself, first of all, why don't the men just say that they're women and just go to a women's prison anyway? It'd be a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And we don't have to pay for the sex change operation.
I love it. So you got a sitcom called Orange is the New Crack. Hey, girl. Little something. Caitlin, are white women dumb and racist, or did Kamala just suck?
Okay, white women are dumb and racist. No, and we're actually not weak and stupid either. Has anyone checked on Mark Cuban?
Speaking of white women,
She's doing fine.
Mark Cuban was a great Trump surrogate, in my opinion. I really think so.
So was Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah.
All these guys that we pulled out of retirement, so I don't know. But seeing these men go on television having full-on meltdowns, the low beta soy boys having these meltdowns,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like baffled because you lost the election because you act like that and because America wants alpha males, and then you're still acting like that.
Yeah, well, you're in luck. You're with two alphas right here. I mean, you talk about man candy.
I mean, I've been howling at the moon all night. And also, America got tired of walking on eggshells for 4 years.
Didn't
Honestly, like, really, like, you couldn't make jokes, you couldn't look at people, couldn't say you're attractive.
Yeah, especially when eggs are $7.
Yeah, right.
It's like, if we're going to walk on eggshells, at least lower the price a little bit. Well, it's not just the media melting down. Check out this escaped patient from a California insane asylum.
I don't think that our beloved country, America, knows what it's in for with a fascistic society and dictator. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being dramatic.
No.
That's Kathy Griffin. And as you can see, she has not learned her lesson from Trump's first victory because she's still showing a plastic face on TV. But the good news is not every Democrat is taking it hard. Check out this guy.
I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition.
Zioli, how happy is Biden? That's the most alive you've ever seen him.
No, he's the happiest guy in America. First of all, he did everything he could to sabotage her, which was great. You know, interrupting her rallies with press conferences and then coming out and calling everybody garbage. He's like, you're all garbage. Wink, wink, you know what I mean? And then he's smiling, he's happy, he's off the drugs, he's alive again. Joe Biden's alive, and he gets to go to the beach now, make sandcastles, and say, I'm the only guy that beat him.
Yep.
Except that there's 10 million people that are unaccounted for who somehow voted in the last election. I guess they were dead then, and they're probably still dead now.
It's the only, you don't know.
We don't know, right?
I'm just amazed because when you watch the video, normally, you know, the Easter Bunny's standing by to interrupt him if he goes off message.
You're right.
That was the first rabbit-free video he shot in 3 years. Caitlin, isn't it funny, though, how the media is blaming Biden for staying in the race too long, but they were the ones who hid his dementia and let him stay in.
Of course, they have to go somewhere right now. They're in desperate mode. So it was first misogyny, racism. That's why they lost the election. Then they went to, Kamala only had 100 days to campaign. And what did she do with that campaign? Oh, no, a man with a bilateral limp wrist and paying people to come twerk at rallies didn't win an election. It's shocking. Joe Biden could not be more MAGA, though. And then remember Jill Biden on Election Day, what she wore out to the polls?
In a red dress.
Full out pantsuit, Jimmy.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
it was red.
Pantsuit. No way she looked in the mirror that day.
She had MAGA on her her ass, if you noticed.
Yeah, yeah.
Right across that.
Oh, no, yeah, Joe got it that night. When Brett Baer called the victory, she poked him with a stick. She's like, swallow this pill, old man.
We did it, Joe.
A couple of them.
We did it, Joe.
Danny, I know Kathy Griffin's your comedic hero.
Oh, yeah.
Are you concerned?
No. Was that a reposted video from 2016, by the
Didn't
way?
it look like it?
She's just like, I look a little worse now, so I'm just going to repost the one same message.
What's so funny about the meltdown, people, is in 2016, everybody was doing it, and it was obviously absurd because it was a manufactured hysteria. But there's only a few people still doing it now.
Yeah.
So they look like, you know, in the movie I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, the pimp gets out of jail wearing what was cool when he went to jail. But it's not cool anymore. And he's getting laughed at on the street. Like, they look clinically insane, like patently insane. But let me move on, because like all fascist dictators, President Trump wasted no time in announcing he was throwing a giant party the whole country was invited to. Look.
3 years from now, the United States will celebrate the biggest and most important milestone in our country's history. 250 years of American independence. What a great country. And we have to keep it that way. But that's why, as a nation, we should be preparing for a most spectacular birthday party. We want to make it the best of all time.
That's funny.
So that video is actually from 2003, and it got retweeted again this week. So factually, from 2023. So factually, though, America is 250 years old in next year, or as Mitch McConnell calls it, a spring chicken. Caitlin, but the president-elect is basically saying, you know, we're going to celebrate all cultures, which is clearly a nod to Nazi Germany, is it not?
Oh, obviously, that's what he meant. No, I think this is going to be similar to Don Jr.'s party on the rooftop of Trump Tower.
That he got caught throwing?
That he got caught throwing. And Mr. President-elect Donald Trump there still has not acknowledged him to this day.
That's such a funny story.
It's so good.
That he hasn't bailed him out. I heard that on Andrew Schultz's podcast, which I think is really funny. Zioli, he says there's going to be exhibits that highlight the culture in every state. So what are you more excited to take the kids to, the Seattle heroin tent or the California drag queen nuns?
I'm thinking the Jersey Taylor ham tent is going to be amazing.
That's a hot tent.
Pork roll, as we call it down in South Jersey. And by the way, thanks to all the Latinos who voted for him, there's going to be a giant piñata, the biggest piñata you've ever seen, the greatest piñata you've ever seen. It's going to be amazing.
Is he going to make piñatas great again?
Beating it, you know what I mean? Actually, maybe the lefties can just get their anger out by beating the piñata. and
Open a
dropping all the
rage
candy,
room.
Right?
That
A
would work.
rage room would work.
All right, so Danny, give me this. State fairs, carnivals, dunk tanks. You know, you pay money to throw a ball and dunk a guy in the water who's insulting you.
Of course.
How much money could Trump make if he was the guy he did a Trump tank?
Trump tank would be a good one, but you know they're doing it in Iowa, right? That's what he was saying. So they'll do an Ann Seltzer dunk tank. And then liberals from all over the country will come and just toss the ball.
He'll never get hit because all the points will be off by 16.
They're like, you're supposed to aim at the thing, not me. You're supposed to aim at the thing.
That's
we'll
funny.
have a special day for the women of The View, I think. They
All the
deserve a
rides are falling down because the polls at the Iowa State Fair are off by 16 points. I don't know, the coordinates aren't lining up.
I thought.
Where's Ann Seltzer? Never letting her build a Ferris wheel again. Well, the good news is the president will be returning to a relatively stable country. I mean, once you get past the border crisis, the housing crisis, the inflation crisis, and the crime crisis, there's really nothing to work on aside from those radioactive monkeys that escaped in South Carolina. Look at this. So this is a true story. We got 44 monkeys that escaped a lab this week.
Yeah.
Only one of the monkeys has been captured. Danny, I'll start with you, okay? The animals are clearly revolting because Peanut the squirrel was executed,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. This is a big revolt.
Some type of retribution?
I think so. I think they're coming for, what was it, the DEC or whatever, the department that went and...
Somebody's going down.
Oh, yeah.
These
Like, if you're the
monkeys
head of that, you're going to wake up and you're just going to hear, like, little claw marks on the window. You know, what was that? You go, how'd they get it to New York?
They're on their way here right now.
Yeah.
But that's the most New York thing of all. They're going to get here, and they're not going to be able to find parking. Yeah, the monkeys got towed. They're over by the Javits Center. Caitlin, is it actually true, because I did hear this theory, the monkeys are upset because Democrats want them to star in a children's movie called By Curious George?
Are we sure that monkey's not just Whoopi Goldberg?
I don't know. I don't know that she would be escaping a lab per se, but if people could escape The View, they would. Zioli, do you agree with President Trump's offer to bring in the migrants from Springfield to eat the monkeys?
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the radioactive monkeys. I'll tell you something else, too, which is really amazing, is that Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon, they were the new Lexington and Concord of our generation. I'll tell you why. Because libertarians that weekend were like, oh, what the F? They shot the pet squirrel? They came into the home. They had like a squirrel squad. Did you see this?
12 of them.
And they held the guy for 5 hours over a freaking pet squirrel.
He couldn't go to the bathroom.
I'm telling you, libertarians were like, that's it. I'm voting Trump. That's what happened. I think it
Peanut
really
swung
honestly.
the election.
I think Peanut did.
That was it.
Justice for Peanut.
That was a November surprise.
I don't know. Anyway, because you got to think half the
Law and Order Peanut.
half the kids in this country have a peanut allergy.
Yeah, but they're all voting Democrat.
But seriously, once you get past the escaped monkeys, the dead pet squirrels, and the media meltdowns, the country's actually in a joyous mood. Even here in liberal New York, the passengers at LaGuardia Airport were raising the roof. Look at this.
It's Fred the raccoon.
Yeah, that's a raccoon falling out of the roof, which is a shocking video until you realize it's next to the Spirit Airlines gate.
They killed Peanut.
At which point, it's not even a top 5 weirdest thing of the day to happen near the Spirit gate. But give me this, because for the people at home, that is a female raccoon falling to the ground and breaking some glass when she landed, which is crazy. But I played it to cheer up liberals because at least one female broke a glass ceiling this week. There you go. Boom. Don't go anywhere for long because the Trump man is vowing to deport violent criminals. When we come back, we'll tell you which celebrity should go too. It's fantasy deportation camp right around the corner.
Yes.
Rocky Horror Picture Show, okay? You know, the hook of the Rocky Horror Picture Show is that everybody in the theater knows every word to the show, right? That's a Trump rally. They'll be in the crowd like, we can't go to the bathroom. They're about to do lock her up. I'm not even kidding. They'll be like, we'll go during Drain the Swamp and we'll come back for Build a Wall at the end.
Yeah, the wall's coming and the criminals are going. President Trump vowing to deport rapists and murderers who entered our country illegally, which is ironic because most migrants who arrive here in New York assume they already got deported. They get off the bus on 46th Street. They're like, man, Caracas went to hell. What happened here? Anyway, liberals are saying it's inhumane to deport 2 million people. You know, unless you're Barack Obama, in which case you could deport 3 million people and they don't give you a hard time about it. But now that we got the hypocrisy out of the way, my question for the panel is why stop with violent criminals? There's so many annoying celebrities and media figures we could do without. So let's play a relocation reality game called South America Has Got Talent.
Okay.
We're setting them down.
I like it.
Who do you want to get rid of, Zioli?
Barbara Streisand. And I'll tell you why.
Give it
Because
to me.
she said that Trump was stressing her out so much, she kept eating pond cakes. Pond cakes.
That's
So
how
she's
she
one of
said it.
those emotional eaters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I was just, Papa, can you hear me? And then you could deport her down to South America, and she could annoy everybody down there. It's a great win for everybody.
But yeah, haven't the South American people been through enough, though, to have put up with the lady from Cats?
Yeah, that's true.
She's a lot, man.
I mean, she's a lot, but she's constantly complaining. And I can't tell her and Bette Midler apart. That's the only thing. I know that they're both haters.
Well, you know, you can tell them apart.
Yeah.
Well, Bette's account is deleted now, but when it was still in business, she led the league in racist migrant tweets. Remember, she was the one who was like, if you think the groceries are expensive now, wait till Trump gets rid of the people who pick the fruit.
Who's going to cut your lawn when he deports everybody? That was one of her tweets.
Bad stuff. Caitlin, give it to me.
Okay, so guys, I see this more as the ultimate farewell tour, right?
Okay.
So hear me out. The worst, most obnoxious Democrats are all flying on a private jet, naturally, drinking their $20 lattes, complaining about how they're not going to be able to go to the farmer's market anymore. Leonardo DiCaprio is powering the jet by recycled avocado pits. We have Cher, who is going to Mars because there's just...
Oh, so I get what you're doing here. You're saying that they all fly out together.
They all fly out together.
I was so nervous you were going to crash the plane because this is live TV. We were all sitting there like, where is this joke going? We're all trying to get out of the frame in case that's the punchline. And we're not in this terribly viral moment.
We weren't here.
Okay, so you say put them all on a private jet in the name of climate change, leave the country.
Can I brag about something for a quick second? Because I think it's going to impress you. Do you know that Cher blocked me on Twitter? I am blocked on Twitter.
What did you do?
I have no idea.
That is actually a brag.
I think I said something about that video that she was in with the Navy guys. Remember when she was all scantily dressed for Turn Back Time? I said, She did a great job entertaining the troops in World War II, and I think she blocked me because of that.
I would put that in my bio.
man,
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
on your
share
dating app.
business.
Yeah.
My dating
Danny,
app. I'm married.
Now that he's done venting about his on and off Twitter relationship with Cher, Danny,
He's like, I think I can impress you.
who can you deport without crashing a plane full of celebrities?
There's
or
going to be
pissing
no
off
planes.
Cher?
I want to, by the way, thank you for not saying that you're sending them to Canada, because obviously being from Canada, I don't want all these
You don't want 'em. I get
dregs
it.
getting sent
Yeah,
up
yeah,
to
yeah,
where
I
my
respect that.
family and
I think
stuff
they think that's where they can go, right?
They do all think that.
Sanctuary.
I think it would be a better spot to send them to some sort of island, maybe Virgin
Canadians are like,
Islands.
pardon?
Maybe somewhere they're familiar with, Little St. James, maybe. But my number one deportation pick will be Keith Olbermann. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
That
good
is
one.
the
Hey, whoa,
most.
whoa, whoa. What do you have against homeless women?
That man is so unhinged
Yes.
on the internet that I think we just need to get him away from America for his own sake.
It's not healthy for him.
He's having like this, it's the slow motion train wreck that's been going on for like 10 years right now. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah, it's a lot for me, but I feel better about myself. I like having those people on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, at least I didn't do that Oberman thing in my pajamas on the balcony where I called Trump Hitler again.
I'm not unfollowing him,
Yeah.
so
So when I posted this in the promo for the show tonight, I was like, we're going to do fantasy deportations. I got like 7,000 people like, deport The View.
Yeah.
But I'm not, that's considered an act of war. If you're going to send The View to another country. You know, I want to deport two groups, okay?
Go ahead.
Kamala's entire strategy team should be deported. They spent $1 billion. They're still $20 million in debt.
Yep.
And they had no strategy other than let's have a concert.
Yeah.
And they just had like 40 concerts.
Yeah.
And they got shook down. There's a story today that Oprah got $1 million to her company to sit there and pretend Kamala could speak in complete sentences.
Yeah.
So there's a scam there. So I would say that, okay. Or I would say do Doug a favor, because he's going through a lot right now.
Yes.
And deport the annoying daughter. Have you seen her on Twitter?
Well, she's
ranting
already
and
in a
raving?
mental institution,
that's
so
not fair.
taken care of.
All right, as long as she doesn't board any of your planes. Anyway, folks, Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert both hit menopause this week. We will cover some late-night hot flashes when we come. By Smokey Robinson. Legend has it he was inspired to cry by watching late-night comedy after Trump's re-election. There was a time when late night united the country around its shared love of ridiculousness. These days, late night might as well be hosted by a blue-haired chick crying on TikTok in a Subaru. Check this out.
It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
I got to say, he's very sensitive for a guy who wears blackface.
Well, thank God he wasn't wearing blackface that night, because the tears would have been everywhere.
streaked.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, Stephen Colbert, on the other hand, he took over for David Letterman, who was a devoted disciple of the notoriously apolitical Johnny Carson. So thankfully, people tuning into Colbert in search of some post-election laughs, they made the right call. Hit it with the hilarity, Stephen. Why even do a show? Why not just play the Everybody Hurts video by R.E.M. on loop for an hour? And I love how he says he's trying to be mindful of everyone's depression.
Yeah.
But then he talks to them in a way that makes them want to pull the car into the garage and leave it running, okay? It's sick. But now there is a part of me. I mean this. I was telling Hannity this last night on his show. There's a part of me that doesn't want to bag on Kimmel and Colbert, because if they didn't suck so bad, Gutfeld wouldn't have such a huge show, which wouldn't have spawned this spinoff. Like, that's a true story. Greg walked in size 4 shoes so I could run, okay? But at this point, I think the only people watching Kimmel and Colbert are like terrorists being interrogated in Guantanamo Bay.
That's it.
So is it any wonder that the funniest show on TV now is Rachel Maddow? I think no. But seriously, so I watched that, and I'll come at it first to you, Danny, because you're a comic.
Sure.
Okay. Comedy, first and foremost, is there to unite people.
Yeah.
Okay, it's common culture where we put our differences aside to laugh at the end of the day. But above all else, it's self-aware.
Sure.
Like, if you were on TV saying Kamala Harris is going to win and she lost by that much, you should be opening by making fun of yourself.
Yeah, also there's a point to comedy, which is to make people laugh.
Yes!
Like there's a specific point. The most ironic thing that Colbert said there is, which I don't think is kind of a cell phone, but he says, if you watch this show regularly, there's something wrong or whatever. And they're like, yeah, there is. It's like, who watches Colbert regularly? Yeah, there is. It's dark if you're a regular Colbert watcher. That's for sure.
But that's where, like, they are, like, kind of derelict in their duty, because it's like, yo, first and foremost, Zeoli, 72% of Americans thought the country was headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So the idea that you're this upset, this is like the equivalent of being mad that your wife fired Casey Anthony as the babysitter. It's a good day. It's actually a good day. If 72% of us have us going the wrong way, shouldn't this be upbeat?
But doesn't that show how out of touch these comedians in air quotes are with their audiences and the American people, and why, you used to like watch them to relax at night and go to bed. Now there's no difference between them and MSNBC.
Yeah.
I mean, if you combine their ratings, you still don't get as high as CNN. That's how bad these shows are. And it's so predictably anti-Trump. That's why there's a Gutfeld, there's why there's a Fela, and it's why there's a Zeoli and you two.
That's why there's a Zeoli.
Because the truth of the matter is that we are counterculture now. Trump is counterculture. Think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's almost mainstream now.
It might swing back.
That's the
punk
point.
rock.
Yeah, he's been punk rock this whole time, but what they don't get now is the band is now playing arenas again. He won by so much.
Yeah.
He won the popular vote.
Right.
This ain't niche anymore, Kate. You go to these parties. These are big bashes.
Yeah, I feel bad for the libtards of late night. And I think the writers here, I don't know, I took this as they were saying, we got nothing, just go out there and cry. We got nothing. This reminds me of that friend that promises she's so over her ex, I'm so over him, but that's all she can talk about. It's like,
Oh my God, did you see what Donald did last night?
Yeah.
Donald wanted to lecture you guys.
Like Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel sitting on the floor, eating ice cream out of the tub, pulling up Trump's Twitter like, did you see what he did? No, but I'm so over it. I'm so over it.
I just posted a picture. He looks so happy, but not happy.
But this is the part that drives this is the part that drives me crazy too, Dan, as a comic. Okay, there's this self-righteousness to Kimmel saying it was a bad night even for the people who voted for him. He just doesn't know it yet. Dude, the groceries were 30% cheaper. The border was secure. Crime was down.
He was crying for NATO. Like, what are you, some geopolitical analyst now? Where you're like, oh, think of NATO. Oh. I mean, the only thing I could be charitable about is maybe he's on a bunch of lists and they're coming out now. And
well, what it comes back to for real is for him specifically. He is absolutely paying political protection money because he would be canceled in 2 seconds because of the Man Show.
Yeah.
He wore blackface just about every episode. They had girls on trampolines.
Girls on trampolines.
You can't survive in Hollywood right now, okay, if that's your take. So he comes out every night and gives some back a little tribute, like it's a mob movie, gives them a little taste.
Yeah.
And he has to do 20 minutes on Trump's the devil. It's like in his rider before he gets to tell jokes, which I assume happened in the D block. I mean, it didn't happen in the A, B, and C.
Well, isn't that kind of similar with Howard Stern, right? Everything he did in the back, like lesbian dating games and the KKK guy, it's all erased from the history books.
Yeah.
And he's just anti-Trump now.
Yeah.
And he's able to hang out with A-listers, celebrities, or B-listers, B-plus celebrities, because they just pretend like that never happened. Same with the Man Show, same thing.
But that's
women
why
jumping on trampolines.
But I know, but that's why self-aware people would either A, acknowledge that in their past, make fun of themselves for having poor judgment, and look, it surfaced again.
Yeah.
You know, this is the worst judgment I've showed with women since the Man Show.
Yeah.
And you show that, but he didn't own it.
Right.
And honestly, any self-respecting comedian should be pounding the left. They told you men can have babies, okay? Then they took it a step further. Remember this, okay? They banked their whole election strategy on convincing dads to vote for their daughters' abortion rights. Imagine going into an American Legion and being like, hey, vote for me so some guy can have unprotected sex with your daughter. You're going to get beat up in the parking lot. Make fun of them. Anyway, the election is reportedly causing some women to go on a sex strike. So we'll tell you how to score with the ones who are still banging.